Greetings, people of the internet. This is Scott with CircWorks, and this is 100 Days of Making Comics, day 80. I believe it's day 84, but don't quote me on that. So what is 100 Days of Making Comics? Well, it's where I put aside at least 30 minutes a day in my schedule to work on my own personal comic book project. My project is a little book called Young and the Dead. These are the first two issues that are available on circworks.com in the store section. And it's kind of a kids versus zombies story. It takes place in the 80s. It's really just a cross between Goonies and Night of the Living Dead, but I always say Goonies, but it's, you know, in a way it's kind of also like Monster Squad, which to me they're kind of like sister movies. They're not like owned by the same studio or produced by the same people or anything like that, but they have kind of that same theme. And I really love Monster Squad, but not a lot of people have seen it, so I always reference Goonies instead because it's the more popular of the two. But if you haven't seen Monster Squad, and you have seen Goonies and you like Goonies, or maybe you're so-so with Goonies, check out Monster Squad, especially if you like old classic Universal style characters like the Mummy and, you know, Frankenstein, Dracula, Creature from the Black Lagoon, Wolfman, all that kind of stuff, because it features all those creatures and kids fighting them. So it's really awesome. So it might be a little hard to find, but yeah, search it out because it's an awesome movie if you haven't seen it. Anyway, so yeah, I'm filming this one a little early. Actually, I'm getting ready to take my daughter to school. She's getting ready, so I figured I'd flip this on real quick and just give a little intro, and depending on what else I tag on to the end of this thing, I don't know if it'll post earlier or later or whatever, but I've got a big project I'm working on that I've got to have done today, so I want to get this out of the way. And so yeah, what else? So over this weekend, it seems like I got a lot done, a lot of different things, a lot of stuff around the house and everything. Did a lot of work on Young and the Dead, not necessarily the actual comic book, but the web, you know, setting up the website for that's going to run the web comic and all that. Last night I did an Artcasters chat. So that's kind of a Google Hangout. We get together. Artcasters was started by Jeff Lafferty. And I'll put his info on the description tag or description box or whatever it is on YouTube. And Peter Palmiotti hosts that. He's also doing the 100 days. I'm sure you probably checked him out if you're watching this stuff. But anyway, so yeah, I had a good conversation. I was kind of like dead tired, and I was coloring some of my characters for the bios as I was working. So I didn't really contribute a whole lot to the conversation. But I chimed in here and there, but they're always good to listen to if you enjoy hearing artists kind of BS about the industry or just comics or whatever it is. So anyway, and you can check that out. I'll put a link to that. And I might, depending on how I do on this project, I might do another hangout called Studio Synergy that Peter Palmiotti. Again, it's early. Peter Palmiotti also hosts. So hopefully I get a chance to do that, because that's one where you're kind of supposed to, the idea is that you draw while you talk to other artists and everything. So I've got, you probably can't see it on the back screen, I've got my characters that I flat colored. So maybe if I get a chance to do this Studio Synergy, I can start adding some of the shading and get all those characters that will be the bios for the webcomics. So when you click, if you want to know a little bio about the characters, you can click on that. So I'll probably show you what I have right now. It's just flat colored, which means, there's no shading or anything, just solid flat color. But I know you guys, if you've seen some of my stuff, it's usually black and white, so you don't get a chance to kind of see what the characters look like in color, even as flat colored. So I figured I'd show you those, and then hopefully I'll get a chance to start shading those in. But yeah, we'll see. But anyway, like I said, I gotta wrap it up. I've got to get my kids off to school and get back and start working, and hopefully get this project out the door so I can do Studio Synergy tonight and do a little more work on my comic, which is what this is all about. So I'm going to say that is all, but I'll probably show you I'll show you kind of these flat colors on these characters that I'm working on. So I'll see you in a minute, or you'll hear me in a minute. Okay, so this is the first character I'm going to show you, Kelly, which is she's the most recent drawing, the one I just finished up drawing and inking yesterday. So as you can see, and I might play around with the colors a little more. I might go not everything is like super bright in the comic, at least when I do colored versions. But you know, this does take place in the 80s. Obviously, you see kind of the the old corded phone and everything. And just the style of dress, that neon style color was pretty prevalent back then. So I might add a little more of that, but so at least so far that's kind of what I have for her. Let me show you. I just closed out one of my favorite characters. Hold on a second. I went to open it up and I closed it out. Hold on, open. Let's see where we are. Okay, here we go. Okay, so this is Lloyd. He's another one of our characters. He's kind of the weapons expert and kind of the planner. He's got a duffel bag that he carries around, and he's got all these homemade weapons and firecrackers and all that kind of stuff. And he's I don't know if he's necessarily the leader of the group. He's definitely the planner. So there we go. Here's Mitch. He's kind of the trickster. He's kind of the wise ass kid. And you can see the old style Pac-Man. You don't see that much. That was on the original game art, where Pac-Man kind of looked like this. The original game art for the actual cabinet that was printed on the side of the video game. But as this shape, this Pac-Man shape, the one that's in the logo and the one that's in the game, became more popular, they rarely even reused this kind of look. But I found it interesting, so decided to throw that in there. He wears this shirt like a little bit on the first episode, and then he goes home, and the next time we see him, he's wearing the Atari logo shirt. But yeah, you can see he's kind of got a wooden sword. All the weapons and things that my characters use there's no guns or anything. It's just all like stuff you can beat a zombie down with. So anyway, so as you can see, she's kind of got the croquet mallet. This is Ox. She's kind of a jock. She's kind of the heavyset kid of the crew. She is of Russian descent, so this is in the 80s, so that causes some problems with some of the other kids, just because back then there was Cold War and everything. But she's pretty good friends with Lloyd that I showed you before. But then another character, Rocky, which I'll show you, he's the one that's kind of like tends to butt heads and thinks she's a commie and all that stuff. So here's Rocky, and he's kind of a jock too, and maybe that's why those two butt heads so much. But yeah, he's the oldest kid, and he thinks he knows everything, and he thinks he's all that. So and then his sister Stephanie. We kind of discover that she tends to be pretty good with the slingshot, which comes in handy as far as a weapon against the zombies and everything. I guess she used to shoot her dad. Her and Rocky's dad he's a cop, and he's in the story too, or mentioned in the story, and find out a little more about him. But yeah, I guess she used to shoot just tin cans with her dad just for fun, out in the backyard or whatever. So we find out that some of these skills, especially back with Lloyd. Where is Lloyd? Where was he? Oh yeah. So he's kind of the Dungeons and Dragons type. He plays D&D, and he's into all that kind of stuff. That back then he would have kind of been considered a geek or nerd or whatever. But all that information comes in handy once this zombie apocalypse comes down, because he knows all these different strategies and techniques and things like that. And he knows about zombies. He's a big horror fan, so he knows what they do and how to defeat them for the most part, even though these zombies in my story are a little different. So here's the main character, kind of, loosely, this is sort of the Mary Jane character, sort of loosely based on myself as a kid, even though I never fought zombies. But yeah, he kind of has the same kind of personality and everything that I do, for the most part. Maybe a little more heroic than I was, but he's kind of trepidatious about that. He he can step up if he has to, but he's kind of unsure about, what to do and everything like that. But he knows that he's got this information here that he has to get to his dad, who's a biologist, and who maybe can hold the cure. So his mission is just to do that, to get this information to his dad, and he won't stop until he does that, and hopefully he will, or else it's not going to have a happy ending. This is his little brother Tad, based on my little brother. My little brother was huge into Muppets. I was too, but his whole room and everything was Sesame Street and Muppets and everything. So threw a little Kermit on there, and I created my own style, a kind of Muppet character called the Tickle Monster, kind of based on like Cookie Monster or My Favorite Monster or something like that. And he's got the shoes and everything for that. So, and this little character actually comes into play too. He has some cool stuff going on in the book. And so is that it? I think that's all of the characters, all the main characters anyway, the ones that I'm going to put in the bio. So there you have it, and hopefully next I will be able to show you what these guys look like, kind of fully shaded and everything. But until then, I got to take off because I got to get my daughter to school. So that is all.